Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at out here. It is the Earthmaster here in Northern California. Today is September 27th, 2023, about 11 a.m. West Coast time here in California. Wednesday, halfway through that work week. We know what's around the corner, and that's a weekend. Latest activity shows a 1.9 into the region of Oklahoma, it looks like. Did see a little bit of activity stirring up overnight. Latest activity looks like a cluster of movement around the Indonesia Islands area. No surprise there, right? Always seeing some movement within that location. Notice this 5.0 coming in just a couple hours ago, just outside the New Guinea region. Still waiting on some activity to stir up down here across the Solomon Islands as far as larger scale movement goes. But for now, just a couple smaller earthquakes there from early this morning, 4.6 in the Vanuatu area. Just keep an eye on this region here outside of Fiji. New Zealand, 4.2. Coming in just off the north coast there of South Island. Actually, it looks like it's inland. Well, let's see. Okay, upon closer inspection, just offshore it looks like, and relatively shallow for that earthquake. 4.2. At about 10 kilometers deep. Let's go ahead and check out the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what we have for the earthquake activity. 4.7 here being reported by the USGS, or the GeoNet servers, excuse me. Little bit of a difference there in the magnitude. Looks like it was felt by a few folks. See what we got here for the information out here. Shaking layers. This is the GeoNet servers of the shaking layer map where it may have been felt. As far as the intensity goes, it doesn't look like there's, too much in the terms of strong magnitudes, but it looks like it was felt out there between a few folks out there in the New Zealand area. I'll pull this back up here. There we go. Meant to check this map. Here is the Did You Feel It reports out there. Looks like even up in the North Island area did feel this earthquake. 4.7. That's what is being reported. So let me check the earthquake drums. This will give us a good indicator of what it looks like. Let's see here. I don't know. I don't see any broad 4.7 out here. If anything, maybe a lower 4 like the USGS is reporting. But then again, I don't know why they all have different magnitude classifications here. To me, a 4.7, almost a 5-pointer is going to show up. Probably should be broadly across the area of North and South Island. And look up here in North Island, some of these stations are just barely picking up that signal. Barely. So that leads me to believe that's not quite a 4.7. That's just my observation. I've been watching these seismograph stations for many, many years. It looks like a bigger earthquake's coming in here to the Thailand area. See what's going on. I know when those show up, those big waves. I'm talking about some S waves here. There's primary wave around Thailand area. Not for sure where exactly this is at, but obviously it looks like it's closest to the Thailand region. Probably at least a mid-5 is what I'm guesstimating here. Unless it was this, was it this 5.1 that popped up? I don't know. When was this? This was at 9:15, so no, it's not going to be that one. 9:15 my time. I guess we'll wait. Again, it is just coming in here to this seismograph station closest to the Thailand area. We'll continue to watch that and report back on it when the magnitudes get updated, but for now, really not seeing it out there on the USGS or the EMSC model, because that would pop up on the globe. Let me refresh this, make sure. Oh, there it is. Now it popped up. 5.2. I was close, right? Didn't I say about a mid-5? Just looking at that seismograph there is a little bit slightly over, but hey, not bad for a guess just looking at that graph. That's along the Java Trench here, just off the Sumatra region, northern Sumatra. This area has actually been somewhat quiet if you think about the lack of movement here recently. So not surprising to see some activity filling in there, 5.2. And this could get revised. This is just preliminary data right now, I believe, from the, this is the EMSC. USGS has not picked up on it yet. Let's see what we got. Let's zoom in. This is off the plate boundary, it looks like. Now they're showing a 5.3. Again, these have not been reviewed by a seismologist, so it could get upgraded to a 5.5 or so, right around where I guessed. But we'll check back on that here in just a second. But either way, the New Zealand region, 4.7, 4.2, take your pick. Whichever one. Looks like it was felt out there across the area of New Zealand. A little bit of aftershock activity around that 4.7 there in South Island. You can see it on this map here near the Quartz Range region. Do they call it the Quartz Range because there's lots of quartz out there? I don't know. I would love to go out there and check out New Zealand one of these days. I have a list of destinations I would love to travel to eventually down the road. I think it'd be so cool to check out New Zealand. But activity, aftershock activity following that 4-pointer. Aside from that, movement around the, what is that, Rada Peaks? This is the where that 6-pointer struck here over a week or so ago now. Still seeing some aftershock activity, so it looks as though increasing pressure out here across the plate boundary. And this earthquake that struck out there this morning is just off of the plate boundary. You got the plate boundary here in the red line. Of course, there's always going to be fault systems all around it, right, along the plate boundary. But this one's off of the plate boundary inland by, it looks like maybe a good 75 miles, 50 miles or so off that plate boundary. So we know strain's definitely built up out here, that's for sure. Just continue to watch the New Zealand area. Let's see, nothing showing up yet from the USGS. A little slow on the reporting today, but 5.2 there. All right, let's get back to it, see what else we have, and then we'll come back and check on that magnitude for authentication. See which one it actually is once they look at it. Movement up here across the eastern edge here of the Filipino plate. That's going to be this area right here. A little bit of activity from, well, actually these look like they're all from yesterday. Some 4s and even a 5-pointer in that mix there. Yesterday. Nothing going on here across the Kuril-Kamchatka for now. The northern portion of the Pacific plate. This earthquake here is from yesterday. That's going to be a 5.1. Looks like things have mellowed out here overnight and this morning. As far as the west coast activity goes, some movement here yesterday at the Blanco fracture zone, 3.4. As far as newer movement overnight, doesn't look like it. So things are taking a break for the most part across the Pacific Northwest. As far as Northern California goes, I believe this is from yesterday as well. See a lot of older movement quakes from yesterday. Not really seeing anything new today. Of course, there's going to be a handful of smaller microquakes here across the west coast. But it looks as though we're getting that teeter-totter effect stretching back over this way. So we'll continue to watch for some movement out west, not California-wise, but out west here along the western Pacific areas. Little earthquake there in Oklahoma, 1.4 near Dibble. Oklahoma, 4.9 kilometers deep. Puerto Rico area seeing a handful of smaller quakes across the area. It's very typical, not seeing anything out of the ordinary there. And a little bit of movement across the South America region. Let's see what we got here as far as smaller activity. Not a lot. A couple 2s and 3s in that cluster of activity there in the Peru-Chile Trench. 5.2, but overall, you know, I still think definitely this area across Solomon Islands needs to fill in a little bit more than areas across this region. So I'm kind of watching. I got my eye on this area. We've seen a lot of bouncing back and forth here over the last couple weeks of movement, deeper activity, subsequent shallower and some deeper activity across this plate boundary, leaving this area just with very minor movement. So I think it's going to fill in. We'll have to keep an eye on this area. All right, Mediterranean region, couple small earthquakes there in the last 24 hours. Nothing big. Morocco looks like they had a, let's see, USGS reporting that. Maybe a 4.4 down there. Nothing showing up, though, from the USGS, but it is on the EMSC model here. A little bit of activity across Greenland as well. Or Iceland, excuse me. 3.5. Isn't that weird? Iceland, very minimal ice. Greenland, covered with ice. Always thought that was just the opposite. Should have been the opposite anyway, but hey, okay. Yeah, a little bit of activity here across the beautiful region of Iceland. 3.5. Looks like maybe around some of those volcanoes out there. All right, USGS picking up on this earthquake yet? Yes, they are. Hey, look at that. I was closer. 5.4. That's a pretty good estimate, right? Just looking at this seismograph station here. I think I know what I'm talking about when I guesstimate some of these magnitudes here. Not gloating too much, but hey, that's pretty much spot on. Yellowstone, what do we got down here going on? Let's see what it is. It looks like a little bit of spiking going on there. I don't know if that's wind events or what. We are getting a change in the seasons out here. This activity here, I don't know what that is. I don't think it's anything to do with seismic activity. It looks like some type of outside interference. And the reason why I say that is because literally nearby stations are not even showing a blip of any of that activity. So if this was indeed something to do with underneath the ground earthquake activity or volcanic activity, we would see that show up. So whatever it is local to the Mammoth Fault area, it could be maybe someone out there on a tractor today, maybe doing some construction out there. I don't see anything showing up there across this area. And actually, I put out a little information page from the USGS on my Facebook account here. I'll share it on the YouTube channel here. But it's in regards to strange readings such as this, or strange GPS readings. You know how sometimes you'll see a GPS reading pop up just like out of the blue, almost like the ground's moving. Let's see if we can get this right here. This one's really not showing too much, but let me see if I can show you guys. For example, right here, notice there's a blip. There's a section here where it automatically just goes up, and we're seeing that here as well. Those are antenna adjustments, or anything that shows an automatic, just an immediate sharp rise on these GPS stations here. Maybe instrument replacement, antenna replacement, maybe a relocation to a different area. But whenever uplift occurs below the ground, it's not going to be just like that. I can guarantee you. It's not going to, in one day see, unless it's from a major earthquake or something, then you get the adjustment from the plates. But as far as volcanic activity, we would see this on a trend of long-term, and obviously it looks like there is long-term up movement, but very minimal. You got these seasonal changes, and then you got this antenna adjustment. But anyway, USGS put out a little notification on that, on how to read these graphs and maybe look at odd signals such as this right here, and realize that it's not magma brewing. It's not, things stirring up below the surface. It's got nothing to do with that. If that was the case, we would see it broadly across the entire region here, but we're not. So, it's just because one graph is showing something weird doesn't necessarily mean it's legit. Again, construction worker, it could be generators running. Wind, we get a lot of wind out here occasionally, and that's probably what this is right here. We've seen wind stir up thunderstorms, but to me this looks more like wind. This is all across the park. This is not magma brewing underneath the surface. I can pull up a frequency measurement and measure the frequencies of perfect timing again of these readings here, and they may look like volcanic movement if you compare the frequency of magma fluid movement underneath the surface to wind environment noise. Sometimes they give off the exact same thing. exact type of frequency. So you have to look at many different factors when it comes to, realizing what you're looking at here on the graph. Now, of course, things have calmed down now, right? That was almost 24 hours ago, late afternoon time period, when thunderstorms pick up here. Right now, let's see what we got. We got any thunderstorms popping up later today? Afternoon time period. Looks like up north, these are Cape values. Doesn't look like there's too much in the way of thunderstorms popping up here, but the wind also does create that type of environment. Look at that, the wind peaks out here. Pretty gusty. So we'll see those winds kick up throughout the afternoon. And we're talking about 43 mile per hour winds out here across Yellowstone National Park. And I'm sure higher on certain peaks out here. So we may see that kick back up again far as that reading goes that we seen yesterday, that type of wind noise. In fact, it looks like we're starting to see that right now. See that? So I'm just trying to point out the facts. I don't like the fear mongering at all. So reading these graphs are highly important, right? How you view what the data actually represents out here. Anyone could say, oh my gosh, this is Bigfoot out here stomping the grounds of Mammoth Vault. But no, got to read these correctly. It's very important to, otherwise the stories go crazy. All right, so far as earthquake activity goes, there we go. One little one here, maybe a couple small spikes. Those are small little earthquakes. Very small, probably below the 1.0 threshold. Looks like maybe USGS is reporting some of them. 1.0, 0.5. All right, moving on. Let's see, where'd we go? We got off center here. Oh, look at this, popping back up here. 5.3, Fiji, 613 kilometers deep. Look at this along the plate boundary. It's getting further out here now. So we got adjustment along here. One may not think that activity can affect regions across the plate boundary, but they can if you really think about it. I don't have my plate tectonic map pulled up here, but the northwestward pressure movement out here against the Australia plate, backed up by everything that's going on up here. You got subduction zones and all sorts of crunching of the plate, so to speak, does add strain along this plate boundary. We've seen it light up before. We've seen it here in the recent past couple months. Deeper activity here, popping up over here, bouncing back and forth. And eventually this area around the Solomon Islands fills in, and I think it will soon here. But right now, 5.3 in the last couple minutes there. Deep regional earthquake, 613 kilometers into the Tonga Trench. Anything going on across Hawaii? Things are somewhat calm. I mean, there's not a whole lot of activity out there. We can double check everything here with the Kilauea volcano. I don't think that thing's stirring up. There's still some hot areas out there underneath the Crater Lake region, and you might notice it at night, some glowing, so to speak, but that doesn't mean that we're looking at an eruption anytime soon. There's always still hot material underneath here. There's always going to be volcanic gases, but as far as the eruptive, the spewing of the lava, the magma, well, that's done. It's come to a halt. For how long? Who knows? But at night, when you see this at night, yes, you will still see, some little areas of brightness indicating some still hot areas underneath the lava lake, or it's lava lake, right? Lava lake area. But far as any earthquake activity goes, let's double check this and see. Things look pretty calm. As you can see, this is calm for the Kilauea volcano. Not even joking. When this thing kicks up, we know it. But there's no earthquake activity. Some of these little movements, hold on. Some of these little blips right here may be activity from the Pahala area or away from that Kilauea volcano station, like activity down here. And these are relatively small as well. So those will show up as smaller blips across the seismograph stations here. All right. Don't mean to make this a huge lecture and education experience, but a lot of people will take things and read it wrong, and the Yellowstone one is a big one here. But I'm glad the USGS put out a notification on that, or not notification, but a pretty lengthy article on how to, read these. It's Pretty cool. I'll set it up on my YouTube channel as a post. Great idea. Here a little bit later. All right. Anything else going on? Space weather activity? Well, that's another area that's dwindling down. Look at that. Flatlining here. All right. As far as solar flares or solar sunspot activity, these here are just weakening as they progress over here across the western areas of the sun. We do have a couple sunspots coming around the bend, maybe on the southeastern limb as well, but they do not look super complex in terms of producing, a major flare out here. We might see a couple more C flares from any of these sunspots, but I'm not really seeing anything major out there set up to produce any large X flares or even any large M flares. But still, these guys are showing 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40. Is that right? Yeah, I guess it is. I think those are a little bit lower, but an X flare around 15% chance. As you can see, over the past couple days here, just relatively minor C flare activity, and now we're getting lower. Things are looking fairly calm for the most part. Not really expecting any major auroras for now. Nothing on the forecast. Wouldn't be surprised though. Might get a surprise CME. They seem to be happening here pretty recently. Aside from that, what do we got for weather activity here today? Looks like a little slight risk out here across portions of Kentucky, Indiana area. Looks like slight risk for 2% chance for tornado probability in those areas. Louisville, Kentucky, Evansville, those areas in the green. Wind and a little bit of hail threat out there as well. So if you're within those regions today, you got slight severe weather risk out there. Otherwise, general thunderstorm activity across a broad area of the country. Here it is. You can see the thunderstorm threat. Not a whole lot throughout Yellowstone, but those winds are stirring up, and that's what we're seeing on those graphs. Remember, nothing really going on here for California right now, although we are expecting another low pressure system here to come in and bring some much cooler temperatures and chances of rain once again, even some snow up at the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada towards the weekend and early next week. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't think we're going to see too much though in the valley, but we are expecting temperatures to dip down pretty low for this time of year as far as average goes. So you can see as we head into the weekend, that coolness here, the dark color purple areas indicating a departure from average. That's a lot of colder air coming down. I think we're supposed to be in the upper 60s for daytime highs, and that's pretty cool for us for September. This time last year, I think we were sitting up in the high 90s, low 100s here where I live. So upper 60s versus 100s, yeah, I'll take the colder weather. And that's going to linger around for a little bit and then scoot out. And hopefully this isn't right, because it looks like towards mid-October or so, things start cooking out here across the West Coast. I'm hoping not. All right. Hopefully things change. What else we got here, folks? The rest of that wave kicking through. A little spike of an activity down there in Southern California at Barrett. That's probably going to be this little small spike here. Very small, very small earthquake. 0.7 or 0.6. One of these two are showing up. Maybe even a couple other ones. But there's no major swarms going on. No major activity. A couple regions to watch, like I mentioned here across New Zealand. That's been kind of long-term activity, but short-term, the Solomon Islands region with this activity bouncing back and forth. This 4.6 was from this morning, but I still think we got to fill in this area. So watch this region here. X kind of marks the spot, and hope everyone enjoys their Wednesday. Again, we're getting super close here to the member drawing coming up here in just a couple days. Just a couple days. Get in on the member drawing. If you don't want to win any prizes, maybe you have a family member or friend that would. Go check it out for the prizes. I got some cool Earthmaster pins, writing pins, pretty neat. And of course, your choice of a gift card or Earthmaster t-shirt, and then we also got a pretty cool rock sample collection that we're going to be putting together for the folks as well, for 10 people that are going to be randomly picked live. I'm not just going to say, hey, this person won, this person won. No, I like to, I don't know. I'm kind of a see it to believe it type of a guy, right? Facts. So when we do the drawing, we make sure we do it live and fair. Not going to pull people's names behind the curtain and say these guys won. That's just, I don't know. There's too much room for error, right? So I like to do it live. Either way, we'll be doing that live on the 30th, which is Saturday this weekend. Man, it's going to be a busy week. I got so much stuff going on with school right now, and and then on top of this, the drawing. Woo! So, have a good day. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on this evening. Unless something major happens. Have a good one and stay safe out there. Peace out.